Senator McInnes? No, you don't.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming. There's several points in your brief that I wanted to touch on. I'll try to do it very quickly. Voter decline is a real problem, and it's a real challenge. Motivation you've alluded to or mentioned directly, and it's something that I don't know how you change it. There's a lot of frustration. Comments that they're all the same. I think it's probably because there have been too many liberal governments in this country that turned people off. But it is a challenge. But in sincerity, you haven't accomplished perhaps what you set out to do, because it's a major challenge to get the vote up. So I agree with what this bill is doing with respect to that. Now, I just want to touch on this. You mentioned that the commissioner will not have the tools to carry out his job. And you mentioned as well that I take it, I don't think I saw it in here directly, that you removing the commissioner out of your office is incorrect. You'll correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that's what I take. And and other comments with respect to witnesses that cannot be compelled to testify. It displays, and please, I'm not being arrogant, and I'm not being smug, and I'm not taking a shot, but it does display to me that you do not have an understanding of how the justice system operates is with respect to independent public prosecution and directors. I am amazed that in 2014 we would have the management of elections in this country and regulation and enforcement in the same office. That is appalling. In fact, this is an excellent move, and I'm amazed that it has not been made prior to this time. Mm-hmm. And so it is, and you know, comments, other comments that I've read in the media is quite shocking and quite surprising, because compelling witnesses to testify after the investigation is done will be done by the Director of Public Prosecution or those that work under him. With respect to investigations, the Commissioner will now be charged with the responsibility of hiring the staff, and will hire more staff to conduct investigations. And one other comment, with respect to communications, I rather suspect that during an election, if there's something untoward, that the Commissioner will comment, if necessary, and if it's not in breach of any pending charges. So that's what's troubling to me, is that there just seems to be this misunderstanding of the responsibility of our true justice system in getting and separating out. As has not only been fashionable across the country, it has been almost mandatory, and as I said earlier today, with rural commissions where millions of dollars have been spent to determine these things well back in the 80s. Yes.
Mayrand, respond.
Please.
We're running out of time here.
Yep.
Mr. Mayrand.
You raised several points. I'll try to touch briefly on a few. What's unusual is merging investigation with prosecution. The tradition in Canada is to keep separate investigation and prosecution separate. In fact, I'm not aware that the DPP has any other responsibility regarding investigation than the one that has been given by this piece of legislation. That's one thing. The other thing, it is common, both at the federal and provincial level, to combine within regulatory agency responsibility for investigation and administration. You can think of CRA, you can think of the Environmental Department, you can think of a plethora of agencies that combine those two functions. So I'm not sure. In terms of resources, there's nothing in the Act that brings or adds or subtract resources. In terms of the history, again, what was done in 2006 was to separate, because that was unusual, having combination of administration, investigation, and prosecution. That was unusual, and that was fixed in 2006 by moving prosecution away from the Commissioners of Elections Canada. Seems to me we're going in circle here. We're now saying 6 years later we need to bring investigation with prosecution again. I leave that to the committee to decide.
I'm afraid we have exhausted, we have other witnesses scheduled, and I'm afraid, I understand, Mr. Cote is going to be appearing before
Yes,
us, so
of
you'll
course.
have an
Mr.
opportunity to
Cote will
pursue
be
that issue further. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your assistance in our deliberations.
Monsieur le Président.
Chairman,
We're going to recess for a few minutes and then hear our next witness.